you will subscribe to Delululand.
Look at me. Sure. Look at me.
Side note, I was trying to film this for TikTok, but I feel too old. I feel too old for TikTok. It missed me. The TikTok bus missed me. Anyway, hey guys, welcome to my channel, Delululand. My name is Zohari, and today I just want to talk about The Boys. I want to talk about it. I want to talk about the season finale. And I want to talk about Ryan. Mallory herself. Let's get that straight, okay? Mallory herself. There is this thing called free will, right? It's this cute little concept that has been packaged. It comes mostly from Western imperialism. And the idea is that you can choose to do whatever you want. In reality, what often happens, particularly in Western imperialism, is that people are put into a fixed context. They are then given different obstacles to which they must react. Their entire existence is like a maze, and they're a mouse. And they're placed inside of that maze, and they're conditioned to believe that the direction that they're taking is their own choice. That at every point they're saying, I will either go left or I will rather go right. When in reality, they're placed within a context where they believe that those are the only options available to them. But the reality is that if they were removed from the maze, they would realize that left or right are just but a flick of the infinite possibilities that they have. When you can contextualize somebody's existence and control the environment in which they live, you can get them to believe that they are making choices when they're actually just reacting to stimuli that was placed in front of them in order to get them to act in a predetermined manner. A quick example of this will be Homelander and how he was, as a child, psychologically conditioned to be obedient. When that old ass lady was talking to him, she says, we brought the best psychologists to nurture that sense of dependence and that sense of not wanting to disappoint them. His was a mental prison. They took Homelander and they put him within the context of the lab and where he grew up. They placed him under various experiments. They conditioned him in so many ways. And then when he was done and packaged, he was placed into Vought and he was a product. And he did his job. Unfortunately, there are after effects to taking something that you were controlling outside of the context you placed it in and allowing it to grow. Because then it can become a threat, which Homelander inevitably became. But before Homelander was released, he was psychologically conditioned at a very young age. That is why he craves human approval so badly. I'm just putting that out there to say that controlling a person's environment can dictate their personality. But there's something very dangerous if that person that you're trying to control is given a lot of information in the infancy of that process, because the information that they are given removes the maze, because now you have a mouse in a maze that knows it's inside of a maze. So its decision isn't informed now by wanting to explore the maze. The curiosity now exists outside of the maze, and it wants to get outside of the maze. And once it even has the tiniest bit of information that it has been lied to, it can never again be comfortable within the maze. It can never, ever again be comfortable with authority or information that is given from other sources. We have this down? Cool. Now let's go to Butcher. There is an episode where Butcher is trapped in his subconscious because of the time thingy, and they're looking for the thingies, the ones who were before the 7, the mind control guy, and then Huey goes out, please save him. He's like, why? He's an asshole. He's like, save him anyway. During that time where we actually see Butcher growing up, There are a lot of scenes of him being violent, like very violent at school, just violent in general, acting out physical aggression, especially when his emotions got high. He used to mur other kids, which means like hit him hard, right? Because whenever his aggression overwhelmed him, he acted out physically. And Butcher did this without restraint. He could be set off like hairpin trigger, is that what they call it? I mean, he beat up his principal and shit. I bring this up because when Ryan ends up pushing Mallory out of aggression and her into the wall and then in, when that happens, Butcher's tumor looks at him like, see, I told you. No, excuse me, sir, you told him what? You told him what? He is a teenage boy. Do any of you remember what it's like to be a teenager? The emotions, the intensity, and the need to just act out in a moment. But that's not even what Ryan did. Aunt Grace, please let me go. Aunt Grace, please let me go. Aunt Grace, okay. You know what? Say they're in Florida, okay? And Ryan is his own property, okay? And there's like the stand your ground law. And if you tell a person like leave, you can shoot them because they're on your property. While when you're standing in front of Ryan, his body is his property. And he asked you over once to get out of his way. And she knows how powerful he is. And then she chooses to stand there. And then the genius decides to, oh, okay, now when my ploy for manipulation isn't working, now I'm going to be like, you can't get out of here. I'm going to threaten you with like gas. Oh, on Grace. Oh, if he doesn't do what you want him to do in the way you want him to do it, then all of a sudden now we're going to press the button. Bitch should have pressed it, number one. Number two, you. Sorry, I'm mad at this bitch. I'm just mad at her. Fuck. I'm mad at her and I'm mad at Butcher, okay? Because all of a sudden, Becca stops arriving, right? Because he's killing her voice, because she's the voice of reason. So now we're stuck with this motherfucking trimmer being like, I told you. You told him what? You told him what? Because Mallory's the one who fucked this whole thing up. See, Butcher was manipulating Ryan, trying to get him to do what he wants him to do. But Butcher has a greater understanding of how to manipulate people, how to play on their emotions, how to what? Put people in a maze and then make them think they're making decisions. Ryan goes in there. He puts the Connect 4 there for a reason. Ryan looks at it and says, let's play. Ryan thinks he made that decision, but he was actually put in that situation whereby he would look to that would give him a sense of relief, and then Butcher would be what? Pulling on the sense of this relationship that they have in order to try to get him to be more malleable emotionally so that he can coax him out of Homelander's psychological control and then ship him off with Grace where he can be trained Eye of the Tiger style to kill his father. And Butcher's going with it swiftly. And Butcher says, and this is important, he says, if you say you feel safe with Homelander, I will let you go. There comes Grace. No, Butcher, we can't let him go. No. The whole point of psychological manipulation and conditioning is that you leave the door open and your subject doesn't even go. That old ass lady, when she was talking to Homelander, explaining just how they conditioned him, she said, you could have left at any point. You could have killed us all. You were way more powerful than all of us. But Rod bought the best psychologist. And in the same way, Butcher is a manipulative motherfucker who was fucking with Ryan. Fucks with all the boys, really, to get people to do what he wants them to do. And he was so close. Had Grace not rushed them, had they allowed Ryan to leave, Homelander would have smelt fucking Butcher all over him. He was already mad. He would have acted out hard. And then Ryan would have gone back running. And then he would have done what Butcher wanted him to do. Butcher understood understood that you need to give the appearance of choice. That's how you truly successfully manipulate somebody into doing something. You control their context so strictly that they grow up to believe themselves to be these intellectually superior beings, so that the option that you're propping up as the smart one, which is really just the one that's most oppressive, the one you prop up, when they capture that, then their sense of self is elevated. And so they become proud of picking tools of their own oppression. The trick is to make you think you're making a choice. You can be left, you can be right, or you can realize that you're actually infinity. And you are far more conditioned than Homelander ever was. What am I talking about? I do that a lot. I lose myself inside of my own little metaphors. My point is this. Ryan is just getting into puberty. He's a soup. He never actually was trained to get his powers. They were only activated in an extremely emotional state, and that's when it went bah. So his powers aren't controlled. They're completely emotional. The only time he's able to strike is if he concentrates on strong emotions. Whenever he's feeling fear or anger or something like that, he can get a relation to his powers. Nobody is helping him understand himself. He is so lonely. And now Grace comes. And she says, well, I tried the little softy tactic. That didn't work. So it's time for me to tell you the truth about your evil ass dad. Are you ready? Your daddy is evil. He's a motherfucking rapist. He raped your mom, and that's where you come from. That mama that you killed, she is dead. Your only familial genetic bond is a rapist. And I want you to come and we're gonna murk him, cause he murked so many people on flight whatever. And yeah, I'm gonna show you how all those people died, and I'm gonna show you all these terrible things about your dad. I don't see anything wrong with this plan, right? I see nothing wrong with telling a teenager who's already gone through like 2-3 rounds of my life is a lie, and then take him to the worst possible one, and then immediately be like, I want you to act in the way I want you to act. Ryan is different from Homelander because he isn't a product. He's a byproduct of a product. And for his formative years, he was raised with his mom as his only companion, his only context of existence. And then he finds out that there's an entire world outside of him. And then he loses his mother. And then the close emotional bond he forms with Butcher, he has that man tell him, oh, by the way, you killed your mom and I hate you. And then he comes back, but it's not your fault. And then he has his dad, who is superhuman. And in that sense, I mean, these human emotions that we have, he has a super version of them. And he's complex. I have somebody, a friend of a friend said that they didn't like The Boys because you go in with the understanding that there's going to be superheroes and supervillains, and it turns out there are no heroes, and a lot of your heroes are villains. And the line between a villain and a hero is so thin, and at the end of the day, there is nuance, and human behavior isn't as easy as good and bad. That the people you think are bad can do good things and bad things, vice versa. It's the exploration of the intricacy of human behavior. And now we have something that is superhuman. Emotions and instincts are amplified. He has insecurities, great ones. He longs for love and a connection. He can empathize. In an ideal world, yeah, maybe he could improve, Having Ryan has changed him in some positive ways. Just struggles with emotional regulation and he lashes out a lot. When you have a very powerful being that lashes out and lacks the ability to control its emotions and uses violence as emotional regulation, that's a dangerous person / soup. All I'm saying is Grace is stupid. And she took decisions that directly led to her own death. Ryan cannot be blamed for that. He was pumped with so much emotional energy, and then he was denied the choice as to how he wanted to process those emotions in that moment. And he was denied a choice. And then he was practically told that he's going to be trained to kill his father. The only person he has left on this world with which he shares genetic material. The same person who has told him that he loves him and has had tender moments with. That's the whole point of life not being black and white, is that sometimes evil people can make you laugh. Or they can do something that makes you go, oh. But also, it's hard. But that's his dad. Many people have to deal with that, where their parents are legitimately criminal people who did a lot of terrible things, but also they struggle with the love that they have for them. It's a very human thing because people aren't just one face. Had Grace allowed Ryan to leave and process that information, she would still be alive. Instead, she stood in front of a soup. Bye. No funeral song here.